We are in Lawrence, Kansas, and it is June 13th, 2016, and we're interviewing Mr. Alan Fisher about his life and his experiences during World War II, and we would like to invite him to sign our World War II memorial book, if he would, with his name and today's date and his unit, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so just start at the beginning. Tell us where you were born and when, about your parents, family life.
I was born in Globe, Kansas. That's about 25 miles south and a little bit west of here. It was a one-store, village store. At the time, my dad was managing the store.
Mm-hmm. Now, when were you born? What was your birthday?
May 15, 1922. Dad was a farmer and a businessman and a teacher.
What was his name?
Harold Clark Fisher. That was in southern Douglas County, about 9 miles east of Overbrook County Schools.
Now, what did your mom do? What was her name?
Her maiden name was Laura Esther Albright. They lived, she was born in southern Douglas County in the same general neighborhood where my dad lived.
Mm-hmm.
I had a younger brother, 23 months younger than me, and a sister, 23 months younger than him.
Okay, what were their names?
The brother was Ross, died in 1989,
Okay.
and my sister died in 2001, I think it was. My sister,
And her name was?
Margaret,
Okay.
Margarett.
Ah, double T, okay.
My sister unfortunately died from Alzheimer's,
Oh,
and
this was just recently, you said 2000?
one.
Oh, okay, not that recently, but. So let me ask you this then. So we're now in the, say, the late 1930s, right?
Right.
And at this point, of course, things are going on in Europe and things are going on in the Far East. And did you have a radio? Were you listening to any of this, or did you get a newspaper?
We had a radio that would have a news broadcast on it,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have the same kind of coverage that we have nowadays.
Sure. Yeah.
But we'd get reports about what was going on and about Hitler and Mussolini and not too much about Japan at that time.
Right.
And I can't remember anybody thinking that Hitler and Mussolini were doing the right things, but what can we do about it, kind of thing.
Right.
You know, that's.
Now, did you sense when you listened to the adult? Well, you're yourself at that point. You're an older teenager. I mean, you're what, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you can think for yourself. But when you listen to other people talk, did you get the sense that, at least in your community, that there was an isolationist sentiment, that
Yes.
people said they didn't want to be involved?
Right. No, we're not going to mess with them over there.
Okay.
They're going to leave them alone. They do what they got to do.
Okay.
And I don't remember anybody thinking about what happens if we don't do something.
Right.
But we're going to stay out of whatever trouble they've got.
Okay. So that was even true when you'd get news reports about the Battle of Britain, with the Germans bombing Britain and everything?
Oh, well, I know, I can remember feeling pretty terrible about the bombing that's going on in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, when the war got started, the bombing of Britain didn't come until a little later.
Sure. Yeah.
But
I mean, it was before we got in, so.
Yeah, because Germany took over basically all of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Almost before they got to Britain started.
Sure.
And of course the British were over in European territory, trying to help fight over there.
Sure.
Defend
Yeah.
the Belgians and
Right. Right.
and France,
Right.
but they get kicked out of Dunkirk,
Right. Right.
and now Hitler's got the whole thing, and he knows that that if he doesn't do something to Britain, he's not going to have total control that he wants.
Right. So what did you think of that? Did that give that? Did the people you knew, did they have a different take on it? Were they getting more sympathetic then than they had been before?
Yeah, the sympathy was rolling around to the British at that time.
Right.
And Edward R. Murrow was on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
and giving the story about what's going on there, and it was hard to believe that what Germany was doing on the airplanes.
Right. Right.
The number of airplanes that were hitting over there.
So so most of the news you heard had nothing to do with the Far East then, nothing to do with Japan. It was pretty much European focused.
Right. I don't remember much at all about Japan at that time.
Okay. So then, I'm sure you remember where you were then on December 7th.
I'd been downtown doing something. Well, by that time we've moved to Lawrence.
Okay.
My family had
Mhm.
moved to Lawrence because Dad had been the county superintendent.
Okay.
Anyway, I'd been downtown on Massachusetts Street and got home, and I guess there wasn't any, by that time there wasn't anything on the radio but
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor type of thing, and it was amazing. I mean, that sounded pretty terrible.
Did you know where Pearl Harbor was? Most people probably didn't.
Didn't hardly know anything about it until then.
Right. Right. So then, what was your reaction and everybody's reaction that you met that day and the next?
I was scared.
So you would have been
Like
18, 19 at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, what did you go in right away, or did you what was your situation?
Well, I was just about ready to go to KU.
Okay.
After high school, instead of going to university, I spent a year there was at that time a business college in Lawrence.
Okay.
Lawrence Business College, and I spent about a year there, and then went to KU.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm in KU about the time that, for the semester that Pearl Harbor was hit.
Oh, okay.
And so, well, now the thing to do is to join the ROTC, which that's supposed to keep us in school.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it did for another semester and a half. And now Uncle Sam decides they want ROTC guys.
So that's then you're well into 1942 then at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I get my ROTC guys all get called up, and we go into active duty. And I went through Fort Leavenworth
Okay.
induction services,
Okay.
and then it was shipped to Camp Camp Robinson, Arkansas.
Now, when was this? Do you remember when this was?
Oh, it would have been like the summer of that year,
42. Okay.
and getting into basic training.
Okay.
And I was there for, what was it, like, I forget. I started to say 6 weeks, but it seemed like it was a little longer than that.
Uh-huh.
Basic training wasn't very long, really. But
So where did you go after? What was it like? I mean, did they have you in tents, or did they have barracks, or how did they have you down there?
we were in barracks.
Okay.
Really, it kind of surprised me.
How many guys to a room, do you remember?
Oh, there was 20 maybe guys.
Was it bunk beds or was it just single
yeah,
cots?
Yeah,
Bunk beds?
yeah.
So what was the food like? What was the routine like for the basic
Well,
training?
you know, it didn't bother me much. I was surprised. I guess because it seemed like we hadn't had a heck of a lot before.
Right.
So whatever we got now is as good as we ever had. So
Okay.
I I do remember one thing that surprised me that I'd never had before in food, and that was celery with cheese in it.
Ah, okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know, the stalk of celery, and then you take a
Right, right, yeah.
put some cheese in it.
Right, right,
And I thought, my gosh, what kind of a combination is this?
right.
But I did like it. So.
Hmm.
But
So what did you usually do? Would you get up at like 5? And
Yeah.
what was the routine? With calisthenics or what would happen?
well, it'd be calisthenics, and then we'd go out marching and training for keeping in step for march.
Right.
Oh, while I was still at KU,
Uh-huh.
or the first time I fell out for ROTC drill, and I was in a platoon, and being one of the short guys, I was the last guy in the line of the platoon.
Mm-hmm.
And we start marching down the street to go to the field where we're going to practice our marching.
Right.
And I can't keep in step. Gosh sakes.
What? So these guys are taller, so their stride is greater than yours.
Maybe, I don't know
Yeah.
what was the matter,
Yeah.
but I was all out of step. Well, the student platoon commander,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess his sergeant,
Mm-hmm.
were kind of at the left rear of the platoon as we marched down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm on the back end of it, they're not far from me. I can hear them talking.
Oh, okay.
And it's, my gosh, what have we got here? This is terrible. What kind of a guy have we got?
They're talking about you then.
Right. And I know that they're talking about me.
Uh-huh.
And what happened that I got to draw this guy? kind of
Right.
thing. Well, anyway, I got through that first drill. The next drill was 2 days later, and would you believe, now I'm locked in. I don't miss a step.
Mm-hmm.
And now the same two guys are talking. What happened? I don't know, but I'm sure not going to try to change it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, got into basic training, and there were some things I liked about it. Quite frankly, I did like to march,
Okay.
and didn't bother me a bit when we marched.
What didn't you like? What was the thing you disliked the most?
KP, I got on KP a couple of
That's
times.
always fun, yeah.
It wasn't terrible, but that would be one of the least things.
So what'd you think of the food in general? Was it okay?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
And there was enough of it?
Yes, yeah. And it was served not in mess kits, but in like dinnerware.
Yeah.
I was surprised. But one thing that I was proud of was that we had an assignment for a 5-mile march. They called it a 5-mile forced march.
Mhm.
I guess that means you're going to have to hurry,
Yeah.
because we'd march a while, then walk and march, and then we'd jog.
Hmm.
Full equipment, backpack and rifle and all that. I don't know how much load we had, but it wasn't terrible. And I was the first one in.
Oh.
So
Did these two guys see that? You know, the two guys who were commenting on your marching abilities?
No, that was ROTC.
Oh, right, okay, this is down in Robinson.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But I can remember one time there was a Sergeant Waters who was, I think he was a tech sergeant, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he and another guy were walking close by where I was in my platoon. We were marching along, and I can remember Sergeant Waters saying, "Fisher's a pretty good soldier."
Hmm.
Well, that made me feel good too. So anyway, got through all that.
Now, when you were training, when you were doing your shooting and so on, were you training with the Garand or still with the Springfield?
Garand.
Okay, so the Springfield had been totally phased out at that point.
Well, at least for me.
Okay. Okay. Did you like it? You thought it was a
Yes,
good
I
rifle?
thought it was a good rifle.
Okay. Did you train on anything else? Any other
No.
kind of weapons?
Well, oh yeah, a machine gun.
Okay.
I got a marksmanship in both of them.
Okay. So that was a 30 caliber then, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we were shooting, on the rifle, we were shooting, what, 100 yards, I guess it was. And the machine gun was kind of simple because they were pretty close by.
Yeah.
I mean, the target was not far away.
Yeah. Huh.
Oh, the one thing, I tell you what, I remember,
Mhm.
the thing I didn't like, bayonet drill.
Mm.
Because they got a dummy hanging on a pole over there,
Right.
and I got to attack that dummy with this bayonet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when you're shooting the rifle, you're shooting yards away from it, 100 yards or whatever. But this dummy is right there with you.
Mm-hmm. Up close and personal, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that kind of didn't set too well. I didn't like that
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah. So what after Robinson, where'd you go?
Rutgers University.
Huh. Okay. So that's then where are we at this point? Late 43?
Yeah. End of it. Seemed me like it was fall, I guess it was.
Okay.
Anyhow, yeah, we were there through some cold weather and into the next spring area.
Mhm.
And Rutgers was a pretty good place. And I'm sure you must be acquainted with the campus.
Yeah, I've driven up there to do interviews. Actually, I've driven by the campus to go up and do
Well,
interviews. In that part of New Jersey.
The edge of the campus is right next to downtown.
Yeah.
And heck, you could go walk across the street and you're in town.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in dormitories there.
So what were you doing at Rutgers then?
Well, they had a program called ASTP.
Yes.
Army Specialized
Mhm.
Training Program.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we were taking regular university classes.
Right. Yeah.
And I always felt like one of the reasons that the whole bunch was there was because the Army did not have a place to put us right then.
Okay.
And so, but they're going to keep us.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put them in school and they'll get a little more acclimated in training and be hopefully smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get them into the
Yeah.
active duty thing.
Until they get rid of the ASTP. Yeah.
Yeah. One class was speech class.
That's useful.
Yes. And so the topic, the assignment is to make a demonstration speech.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I could demonstrate. Oh, yeah. These guys in this class are mostly landlubber, Air Force type of guys, and they don't know about the rifle.
Right.
That's the way I was figuring.
Uh-huh.
So I went over to the ROTC office and got permission to borrow one of their rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Garand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get started on this speech, and it's supposed to be a 10-minute speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I start going through how the heck the darn rifle works and why it works and what it does and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got about halfway through, and something jammed. I couldn't make it work.
So, okay.
Well, I knew enough about speech to know that you try to explain what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and what would. So I go ahead and go through this rifle, what would happen if it
Mhm.
worked, you know.
Mhm.
And got through it in pretty good shape, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When I finished, the professor says, "Well, thank you, Mr. Fisher. That was 20 minutes."
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, we got, after, I think we were there at Rutgers about 9 months.
Hmm.
Oh, while I was there, one of my buddies was a Baltimore boy,
Mm-hmm.
and I got on some few weekends, he had me down to his house in Baltimore, and we became very close friends and still are.
Huh.
And visited each other quite a bit, even since the war. But
Huh. Is he still in Baltimore?
yes,
Hmm. That's only about.
he's a retired lawyer.
Huh.
I expect he did pretty well, and he had his own legal office.
Wow.
But his dad was a lawyer, and so was he.
Hmm.
But
What's his name?
Stocksdale,
Huh.
Alan Stocksdale, some way I spell mine,
Okay.
and a nice guy. In that connection, by the way, on this trip with the air flight,
Mhm.
World War II,
The honor flight, yeah.
the honor flight that
Uh-huh.
Carl and I went on. I wrote it when I found out when we were going and what we were going to be doing, and it was just a one-time trip. I mean, an all-day trip.
Right.
I wrote him a letter, said I'm coming, and this is when I'll expect to be there, but I won't be able to come and see you because I won't have time.
Yeah.
And maybe if I holler real loud, you might hear me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got a letter back from him. He says, "We're going to meet you at the Kansas, what'd they call
The
it?
memorial at the World War II memorial?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And he did.
Wow.
He and his wife both. She's since deceased. But anyway,
I might be asking you for his contact information and stuff.
he'd be a good one.
Okay. Because that's only an hour and a half from us.
Yeah. Oh,
Or an
I
hour.
hope,
Baltimore's not far.
I hope you will. He's a good
So
guy.
I'll remind myself. Well, we'll try to remind each other to get his.
I've got his.
Okay.
I can give you his address.
Okay, great.
Uh,
So you're at Rutgers then till sometime in '44.
and now we're loaded up on troop train and shipped to Camp Carson,
Okay.
Colorado,
Oh. Okay.
and going across the country, and I remember we were crossing Nebraska east to west.
Mm-hmm.
Well, west to east.
Mhm.
No.
East
I
to
didn't-
west,
I
you're
didn't
right.
I didn't say it right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we out there in the middle of Nebraska, one railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alan Stocksdale looks out. You know, he's used to half a dozen tracks.
He's on the East Coast. Yeah. Yeah.
He looks out that window. There's no railroad track over there. Looks out that window. No railroad track over there. My gosh, what are we going to do if we meet another train? Well, anyway, got into Camp Carson, and we were there about, I don't know, a couple of months. And it was beginning to get warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
Stalks, we call him Stalks. He went down to the swimming pool on a sunny day, and he gets tired and he lays down on the side of the swimming pool and gets sunburned.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 days later, he's supposed to go home on a 30-day furlough because we're going to go overseas. And he refused to go to the hospital.
So it was that bad, huh?
Oh, terrible. But he struggled through it getting home, and he made it all right. But while I was at Camp Carson, I didn't realize it at the time, but a thing happened to me that was fortunate, that kind of helped me in the later service that I was into. And I have never understood how this happened to me, but I'm in a regimental infantry unit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Are you in the 104th yet, or is that yet to come?
this was, when we arrived in Camp Carson, we were now in the 104th.
Okay.
Anyway, I get notice that today, instead of going out in the field, I'm supposed to go to the regimental office
Mm-hmm.
and help them with some records or whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd spend a day or maybe 2 days doing these records
Mm-hmm.
that were of the guys in them in our outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I never did quite understand how I got that job, or
Well, maybe you had more formal education than most of the guys.
well, maybe so. Although I don't know. Well, the guys that went to Camp Carson from Rutgers were
Okay,
all.
sure, of course, yeah. Huh.
And of course, we weren't all in the same. When we got to Carson, we were not in the same outfit.
Right. So now, are you assigned at this point to the regiment and the company you're going to be in for the duration?
Yes.
So what's your regiment? What was your regiment?
414 Company K.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I was going to be the ammunition bearer
Hmm.
for a BAR.
Okay. Yeah.
And I never quite figured out how they figured a guy my size is going to carry around all that ammunition they were going to try.
So what was a standard BAR clip was 20 rounds of the 30-06, the same thing that the Garand was firing, right? Same ammunition that the Garand was firing.
No,
No?
we had, in fact, I've got a case of the can that the stuff came in.
Huh.
A metal, fairly heavy metal can, about that long
Right.
and that high and
Right.
about that wide.
So a standard ammo can.
And it was like on a belt.
It was for
Well,
the BAR. Huh.
Well, anyway, yeah, but it was like on a machine gun thing too.
Huh.
I never quite figured that out. So, nevertheless, I'm supposed to be carrying this ammunition
So you
around
got two of these things you're carrying.
for
Yes.
that guy to shoot it
Okay.
out and empty out.
Right. Right.
Anyway, that's what I'm going to be going on. So we now get shipped to Camp Kilmer.
Okay.
You know where that is?
That's in New Jersey somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess I forgot to tell you that while I was in Rutgers University, I met a family there also named Fisher, but they had a C in their name.
Okay.
And they entertained me at their church and at their home, and took good care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple of daughters, and one of which I've kept correspondence with ever since
Wow.
the war. But
Oh.
although she's not, I guess, not in too good a shape now, but her daughter has wrote to me also. Anyway, so while I was in Kilmer, I was able to get a phone call to them some way and let them know I was in Kilmer, and they came out to a gate.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get through the gate.
And they can't either, right?
Right, and in fact, it's almost like a barbed wire hog fence
Uh-huh.
gate, and there's a guard there, and I'm not supposed to go through there. But when these people came out to the gate to see me, and now he softens up a little bit and says, "Well, you can go."
Okay.
So I got to spend a few hours with them that night. Anyway, it's back into camp, and a few days later, we're being shipped to the port in New York
Okay.
and getting on a boat.
Now, do you remember, was this, do you remember the name of the ship? Was it one of these big, cruise ships that had been converted to troop transport, or, oh, you got that, okay.
Uh,
'Cause at that point in the war, there still enemy subs, but the threat's pretty much diminished, and so I know I've interviewed a lot of guys that just took these.
it was the USS Washington.
Okay.
And
Did you go in convoy, or did you just go
yeah,
quickly?
Yeah, convoy.
Okay.
And
Zigzagging and everything?
there it is, right there.
Okay, yeah, could you hold that up? I'll zoom in on that.
Oh,
You hold it, if you can hold up the map, I can
well, the
zoom in.
red line is going.
Oh, you're already southern Britain, northern France. Yeah, that's what that
No,
meant. No?
no, we didn't land in Britain.
Oh, you didn't? You went straight to,
Normandy.
can you straighten it like that? Because it's a little bit crooked. Can you put the map, there you go. Okay, so you didn't even go to Britain, you landed straight,
At Cherbourg.
okay. So now how long was that crossing?
Let's see, maybe
I got it, that's good,
about
thanks.
a week, I think.
Okay. So was your entire division on that ship then?
No, no.
No.
There was, I think, 3 ships for us,
Okay.
but anyway, and in the convoy.
So I got that, you can close that if you want. I'm all set.
And heck, as far as you could see, there were ships.
Right. Now, do you remember when you landed there?
I think it was, seemed like it was August 7, I believe it was.
Okay. So they'd only taken the port a month or so before.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was all torn up.
Yeah.
I'm amazed we got in there. And then they put us out. A few miles away from there, we got into a field where we're billeted in pup tents out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it's just your division, or there are other guys too?
no, just my division.
Okay.
And is near a little bit of a small town called Barneyville. I never got into Barneyville during the war, but it was close by there, and it's generally in the area of the what do they call them?
The Cotentin Peninsula, where Cherbourg is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of, the landscaping where they got the fields.
Oh, the hedgerows?
Hedgerows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
gosh, dang. Can't remember anything. Anyway, the hedgerows were even a little further in from where we were, but we were in that general area. And we were there for, I don't know how long, maybe a week or 2 or 3, waiting to supposedly go into combat, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
as a division, I mean. And I was amazed at the guys because they ain't gonna put us in combat. We're just a 4F division. Well, they kinda got fooled on that.
I was gonna say they didn't send you clear across at government expense just to camp out in France.
Right. Well, anyway, again, kind of like I told you about being in Camp Carson and
Yeah.
surprisingly get called into that office.
Right.
An order comes down for me to pack up bag and baggage and report to division headquarters.
Okay.
And they didn't tell anybody what was going on. And I didn't like the idea too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because I figured for some reason or other they're shipping me out to another outfit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm already acclimated, I know these guys.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to have to get reacquainted.
Right.
Get up to division headquarters and there's a half a dozen other guys up there in the same boat.
Uh-huh.
And they don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after a little while, somebody announces to each of us what our assignment's gonna be, and I'm gonna be put into headquarters company of the division
Huh.
in what they call the casualty section.
Uh-huh.
And we're gonna keep records of casualties. Well,
Sounds like a fun job.
we aren't gonna have any casualties. Anyway, so I don't know how I was so lucky as getting, that means I'm not gonna be out there shooting a rifle.
Okay.
And the only thing I can think is that got me that way was what experience I had in Carson,
Mm-hmm. Right, okay, yeah.
being in the regimental head office there. And so the rest of the war, I'm in this section,
Mm-hmm.
keeping the records of who's killed in action, who's
Yeah.
wounded in action, and where they're going and all that kind of stuff. And I cannot believe how that could happen to me. But anyway,
How do you feel about that?
well, there have been times when I wish I had been in actual combat to see what it was like. But I didn't. I'm glad I didn't, but because there were friends that were up there,
Yeah,
and it wasn't my choice,
No.
but it was, I guess maybe that's one reason I'm here today.
So where did your unit go throughout the rest of to the end of the war in Europe?
Okay. At the time that we landed there in Cherbourg, the front line was a few miles down from the
Right.
shoreline of the peninsula. And they got down into the sort of the base of the peninsula, and there's the front line, the city of Caen and all that kind of stuff. And now our U.S. outfit breaks through, and now we're going into deeper France. And there's France to our right, kind of off into where Brittany is, and then to the left, up toward the lowlands, Belgium and Holland. Well, our outfit followed the shore. We were in several miles from the shore, but we've sort of circulated up toward the lowlands into Belgium and Holland.
Okay.
And actually, that's where the division finally hit its first actual combat. I mean, breaking through the thing, the base of the Normandy Peninsula was part of it, but getting up into there. And the division fought up in there for about I think a month or two, helping chasing the Germans out of that general area.
Mm-hmm.
And and trying to get them away from the area of Antwerp.
Right, you needed that port. We needed that port. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the Germans were beginning to shoot rockets over into Britain from that area.
Right.
And so that was important to clear that area. There was a town named Zundert
Mm-hmm.
that we got headquartered in. And again, as lucky as I've been, I met another family in there. I was standing guard. I'm still in the job I'm trying that they had me doing, but they in this office.
Right, you're in the headquarters company.
Yeah. But one day I was assigned to stand guard on what I considered an empty tent.
Okay.
It beats the heck out of me why you got to stand guard there. But, and a 15-year-old boy comes walking by from Holland, and he and I get acquainted. And nice kid, and was very friendly and interested. And guess what? He invites me to come to his house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know whether I ought to go, for a dinner.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, these people don't have enough food for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was the accepted situation for those people anyway. Well, anyway, I thought maybe I better not turn him down, so I went. And his whole family was there, and heck, they had a pretty good table of food. I don't know where they got it,
Right.
but
Because that winter 44, 45, the Germans starved the Dutch. I mean, they were really hurting.
yeah. During the war, 104th finished off their assignment as with the Second Army, really, a British
Oh, okay.
thing up there, which nobody liked. What's his name?
Montgomery?
Montgomery. I don't know what. He was not like Ike.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's beside the point. From there, we get shipped orders to go to Aachen.
Okay.
Germany.
There'd been some really heavy fighting there earlier in the war.
Yes, it was, and we were relieving the. I think it was the 1st Division, which had captured Aachen.
Okay.
And but at that time, Aachen was really the only German territory the Allies had. We hadn't advanced anywhere into Germany. And so, you know, in those days, our communications were censored.
Yeah.
When we'd write home, we couldn't tell them, the folks or people, where the heck we were or exactly what we were doing. He could say somewhere in France or somewhere in Holland. Well, now we get into Aachen. Oh,
Somewhere
boy.
in Germany.
Now we're somewhere in Germany.
Yeah. But all they had to do was look at a map and see where the lines were, and they
But
could
you
figure
know,
it out. Yeah.
I had to write a half a dozen letters to my folks somewhere in Germany before Mom wrote back and said, as best we can figure it, you must be near Aachen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to look at a map and say where the front lines were and figure out where you were, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, the division is sitting there and the Allies are now trying to get their forces all in line and ready to push into Germany.
Mhm.
And so along with that push, we go pretty much straight across into the Cologne area
Okay.
with there was a tremendous amount of fighting going on in there. Gosh dang it. It took a long time, and there was a river, I forget the name of the river, but they had to cross this river, and that was a real job because the Germans had flooded a dam and risen the water in the river. And then we got Cologne, which is on the Rhine, and then you go down. We didn't cross the Rhine right there. I don't know, maybe 50 miles south of Cologne is
Okay.
a place called Hanov.
Okay.
And, it's near the Remagen Bridge.
Okay.
And anyway, we crossed the Rhine down there, and now the U.S. armies are swinging east and north on the east side of the Rhine River to cut off German forces that are in the Cologne area, but I don't know, am I making that very clear?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to capture, well, I think they did capture something like 300,000 Germans in there.
Yeah, that Ruhr pocket area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, the Ruhr.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so from then on up to, it was a town called Paderborn.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so then we go almost due east from Paderborn toward into this interior part of Germany, past the town of Nordhausen.
Mm-hmm. It was a concentration camp there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and got that thing relieved there, and then on into the town we finally ended up in was Leipzig.
Oh, okay. Which is going to be in the Soviet sector after the war. Yeah.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our outfit, the 104th, was the second division, American division that met the Russians.
Okay. Yeah, because the first one was on was it Torgau on the
Yeah.
Elbe on the 26th
Yes.
of April, something like that. Yeah.
And this has got some pictures of that
Okay.
in there. Not at Torgau, but
The later one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
So did you get to meet some of them too?
yeah. In Leipzig, we got billeted in what was really a fancy German military camp, permanent,
Uh-huh.
brick buildings and everything,
Uh-huh.
really nice. And out in front of the building we were in was a large field
Mm-hmm.
where we played softball, baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and I played on the ball team,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the catcher,
Mm-hmm.
and I wore a mask. Well, I guess you get dirt on your mask and you get dirt on your face or something. After we played a game out there one day, another GI and I we were playing catch, just playing a little fun out there. And nearby, coming out of this building, was some Russian officers. And we didn't know what the heck. We couldn't speak Russian, and they either didn't speak English or didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, one of the guys saw that my face was dirty,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying something and kind of pointing at me, and I didn't know what the heck he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy that was playing catch says, "Oh, he wants to know how you got the dirt on your face." Well, I told him, but I don't know whether he understood or not.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the nearest I got to something.
Okay.
Anyway, we were.
So is that where you were then when you heard about VE Day then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leipzig is what, 100 miles from Berlin?
Yeah, south. Yeah,
And
east.
south and west.
South and west or south? Yeah, southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now the dang war is over with, the German thing is over with. And so we're loaded up on these freight cars.
Now, did you have enough points to get home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not for discharge at that point.
Okay.
Because that didn't happen until Japan was done.
Okay.
Anyway, on those freight cars, which later I got into the American Legion, and at that time the American Legion had a subsidiary organization called the 40 and 8.
Yes. The carried the 40 men or the 8 horses.
Oh,
yeah, famous French.
Oh, you're right on the ball.
The French. Yeah, those French. Everybody seems to have been on those at one point or another.
Yeah. And of course, we had such good conditions in there. We was sleeping on the floor of those dang 40 and 8 cars.
Yeah.
And we'd sleep head to toe. I mean, I'm this way, and the next guy's head is down there, and his feet's up here, and then
Right.
to make room to get enough guys in the car, you know.
Right.
Well, anyway, we get shipped back to the English Channel. I'm not exactly sure what town we might have been in, but there was a camp that the Army had set up.
The cigarette camps.
Camp
Yeah.
Lucky Strike.
Yes. Yeah, we've interviewed a number of people. Yeah, they named all those. They called them ramp camps. They were repatriated Allied military personnel, which is ramp camps. And yeah, they had Camp Lucky Strike. They were all named after American or British cigarettes, and
Yeah.
they pass all the guys back through there. Yeah. So you were in Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
You got some pictures you can hold up. Well,
pictures?
you have any pictures of Camp Lucky Strike?
Yeah. Someplace.
Yeah, that's right near Le Havre. So you probably would have then gotten on a boat to go home at Le Havre, right?
I think that's right. Here's some pictures of
Okay. Well.
of the Germans when we were. The war's over and
Okay.
we're in this Leipzig camp.
Okay. If I could scan those or get photos of those afterwards, that'd be great.
You can look at the book.
Sure. Great. So then you get on. So you're on a train then from Leipzig clear back over to the Channel.
Yeah.
How long did that take? You remember? A couple of days.
Oh, I think maybe 3 days.
Okay.
Anyway, and now we get on that boat that's in Monterey.
So you remember the name of the boat? Is it-
Yeah. The Monterey.
Huh.
Well, where in the heck did I have that? Oh, here's that Belgian, Holland family.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I'll get a picture of them.
Oh. Here's a newspaper layout of the V-2 rockets the Germans
Okay.
were shooting at.
Okay. Yeah. And those you guys along with was it the Canadians and or the British had to clear all that out of there?
Yeah. Well, where the heck? I found it easy when you were starting out here.
It's okay. I brought a little scanner. I can scan that stuff.
Oh, good gosh.
So now, how long after the war were you there in Europe before you made that trip back to the channel?
Not very long.
Okay. So sometime that summer?
Yeah.
Late spring, summer of 45?
It seemed like we got back into New York in June, I think it was.
Was that a...
Okay, here's the railroad thing.
Oh, okay. You want to hold that up and I'll get a... Can you hold it up? I'll get
Let's see.
close-up of that. Hang on.
Is that what you want?
Yep, so yeah. Let me just zoom in there. It's a good thing someone had a camera, huh?
I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the old 40 and 8s. They're not very big, but they're... I mean, compared to our railway cars, they're pretty small.
Yeah.
But,
Yes,
yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Okay, who's that standing next? I just got a... Who's that?
That,
Yeah.
that's Conrad Walquist. He's a California boy.
Got it.
University of Southern Cal.
Okay.
And it was kind of fun to be with him.
So was he in headquarters company then the whole time with you then?
Yeah. And he, naturally, he was a Trojan.
No, of course.
And the only thing I had for that was that the year that KU played Southern Cal in NCAA and beat them.
Hmm. He wasn't happy about that, I guess.
Probably not. Unfortunately, after the war, he took a lot of these pictures I've got in here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, after the war, I wrote to him a couple of times, and I found out that he was pretty bad shape with cancer, and he couldn't fulfill. I wanted to get some more pictures, but his wife wrote, they couldn't take care of it.
Yeah.
So he died not too long after that.
Hmm. So what about your trip back then on what was the ship, the Monterey, you said?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Bad.
Okay.
Going over was pretty nice.
Okay. Was it the weather or what?
I think so. At any rate, I got seasick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's a good thing I wasn't in the Navy because, boy, I was in misery.
No, it's not fun. I know. I'm not laughing at it. I've been seasick. It's terrible.
Well, it seemed like I got rid of everything I had, so now I'm going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Yeah.
now it's worse.
Dry heaves. Yeah.
Because now you don't have anything to
Right.
give.
Right. Yeah. So how long was that crossing then?
Well, I think it was, we went pretty fast on this one compared to the...
Yeah, you didn't have to zigzag anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I told you a week going over. I think it was more like 10 days or something. And a week coming back.
Okay.
But,
So where'd you land?
New York.
Oh, okay.
And people were standing out there greeting us, I mean, here goes the boat, and there's the people on the shore. And in the harbor, when we were getting off of the boat, I can remember, I don't know where they came from, but there was people standing there giving us a welcome home.
Mm-hmm.
And we get over to railroad to go to Camp Kilmer again, and then we were given 30-day furloughs and to get home, And so we got home, and I spent that June and July area at home.
Mm-hmm.
But now I got to report to Camp San Luis Obispo. The division's been told to go
California.
Yeah, Camp San Luis Obispo,
Uh-huh.
because now we got to go get Japan.
Yeah.
And supposedly that's, it's pretty obvious we're going to go to Japan. Oh, well, maybe not itself, but we're going to go to the Pacific anyway. And nobody was relishing that, I
No.
tell you. In fact, I was always grateful that that my service was in Europe.
Oh yeah, I believe me, I've put that many times. Yeah.
And
There's two places I would not want to have been. One was the Pacific, and the other was the Eastern Front, the German-Russian War. Those
Yeah.
are two of the most miserable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
you're right. You're
Two
right.
extremes, absolute weather.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I kind of felt like, well, the Germans were our enemies and we didn't like them, but at least they're human.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't seem like that's the way the Japanese were.
Yeah.
But anyway, then our good friend Harry Truman ended the war,
Yeah.
and we didn't have to go.
Yeah.
And that's where I got discharged and sent home.
Okay. So that would have been after August then, sometime later August, September, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
You got your discharge paper there?
yeah, right there.
Get a scan of that.
It's dated December 8th.
Oh wow, they kept you until the 8th.
8 December 45.
Wow, so they did keep you in a while after that.
Yeah.
Huh. Now, so what did you do in the interim between the end of the war? You're still in California, right?
Yeah.
And what did you do from August till December? Were you still there?
Well, I guess points are being counted
Okay.
by now, and some guys got more points than
Sure.
I've got,
Sure.
and they get it out first. And,
Sure.
And you're in line.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, when you got out in late '45, what were your plans?
Well, I guess I figured I was going to go back to KU
Mhm.
and try to finish up school there. And it wasn't until, let's see, I guess I didn't get home in time to get the fall
Yeah.
semester.
So you went in the spring then, spring of
Yeah.
'46.
But I got kind of mixed up or messed up or something on them, because KU now is giving me some credit for what I had at Rutgers.
Oh, okay. You're not going to turn that down.
No, except that in a way I wish I had, because it loused up where my standing was
Mm.
in the course I was trying to, and it was all right. And I wasn't the smartest guy in the world, but
If you work hard, that's what I always tell my students, you know.
yeah,
Just work hard.
yeah. Well, maybe I didn't work hard enough. Anyway,
So what did you were in business still? Is that what you went back?
yeah.
Okay.
But of course, what we had at Rutgers was not really business
No,
school.
no.
It was sort of,
Yeah.
getting. I accumulated hours is what the deal was, and that's where it kind of changed what I was getting.
Okay.
I was trying to tie it in with KU.
Okay.
Anyway, I get out of KU, complete what supposedly is my obligation for credits at KU.
And when was that? Do you remember?
47.
Okay. So that's the spring of '47. You graduate then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I start work for the American Legion office state office in Topeka.
Okay. Now, did you use the GI Bill to finish?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that was very helpful.
Yeah.
But you didn't use the 5220 club,
No.
right? Because you were going to school, you didn't need that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I hardly even knew what the 5220 was doing.
It was more or less for the unemployed guys.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I'm in Topeka working, and all of a sudden, I get a letter or a phone call from my mom that she'd seen the graduates from KU for that just before I went up there. And by gosh, Alan Fisher's not a graduate. He wasn't mentioned. So I got back and checked with what's going on, and somehow this business of the hours that I was talking to you about.
Right. Yep.
Anyway, supposedly I was a half a dozen hours short. I don't know how. That's what I can't figure out. Anyway, so I went back to summer school and finished that up.
So you were basically involved in the American Legion from right after the war.
Yeah. I've got one of those things you just took a picture of, says 70 years.
Wow, yeah.
Well, I was elected commander 3 times, and that's on that one of those pictures you took. Anyway,
Do you still go to some of those gatherings?
yeah.
Are there any? How many World War II guys are left?
Well, I don't know. You mean
World War II veterans?
Across the country?
No, here. And you're...
Well, at the high water mark for this Legion post was 700-800 guys. I don't remember the exact.
But that was veterans from all the wars, though. Or just World War II?
Mainly World War II.
Okay.
World War I and II.
Okay, and then it became World War II in Korea, and
And all of the wars since.
Right.
The Legion has taken them in if they, made them eligible.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I was involved largely with baseball, kid baseball, helping coach the team and organizing the thing.
Right.
And we'd put on pancake feeds and stuff, raising money, and boys state and girls state, and Kansas and a few states around here. I'm not sure how widespread it is. They also have a program called Cadet Law Program. You know about that?
No.
Well, that's a program where kids the same age as boys and girls state
Okay.
go to, here in Kansas, to Salina,
Okay.
where the Highway Patrol works with this Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary for these kids to learn what the Highway Patrol does and laws and things of that sort.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like Boys and Girls State, only it's off in that area.
Okay.
I don't know.
So, do you still attend those meetings and so on?
Yeah, I haven't been attending post meetings very much lately. Some off and on, but the okay. We built we had some post home or 2 downtown. One that was within a short block of where our Reuter company was.
Right.
And another one was several blocks west in a building that didn't last very long. I mean, the organization didn't stay in it very long. Then in 50, I think maybe I forget, in 51, I guess. We have an honor guard that takes care of serving for military funerals.
Yeah.
They do an excellent job. And Memorial Day services.
Yeah, my dad had something like that when he died last year in February, and I wasn't in the country at the time, but my sister then set up a memorial service. He lived in Arizona, and they had one of these guards. I guess their sole function is to go around and do what you were just saying.
Yeah.
And they came out.
It's like a firing squad. And,
Exactly.
and folding the flag.
Exactly.
And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, playing taps and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. Same thing.
And one thing that happened here in Lawrence, I mean, I'm sure other towns probably have something like it. During World War II, my dad and a couple other guys that were Legionnaires realized that guys that are killed are going to be coming home, and they won't need a place to be buried.
Right.
Well, they could have been buried maybe in their family plot, but they set up a deal for a veterans plot.
Oh, okay.
Out here on the east side of town is a cemetery called Oak Hill Cemetery.
Okay.
It is a quite large cemetery that was actually started out, well, even pre-Civil War time. And there's people buried out there that some of them were killed in the sort of like the pre-war fighting
Between Missouri and Kansas.
Yeah. Okay, you got the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And they're out there. Well, but there's also private burials out there.
Okay.
I mean, private lots and so. Well, there's one area in the cemetery that's pretty good size compared to the rest of the cemetery, where they set it up for these veterans that are going to be coming home from the war,
Okay.
or even a veteran that died after the war.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's a nice cemetery plot for that. And so that's an American Legion thing.
Okay.
Along about late 60s or 70s, we started in the post a procedure to build a monument kind of a thing in this veterans plot.
Okay. Yeah.
It has it's built with walkways, fairly large size walkways in the shape of a cross.
Okay.
And in the joining area of the cross is where we put a monument in there that is to recognize that this is for these veterans.
Right. Yeah.
And it's got a eternal flame kind of thing.
Now, when you went back and you said you returned, that when you retired from the company, they paid for you to take a trip back over to Europe, and you stayed with that Dutch family. Did they take you? Did you see any of the American military cemeteries while you were over there?
Not in that area, but I did see. Yes, I saw cemeteries, particularly the Normandy thing.
Yeah. I was going to say, because there's a big one in Holland.
Yes,
Margraten.
I don't.
Yeah, it's Margraten, and just on the other side of the border in Belgium, there's Henri Chapelle, and we've got some Belgian friends who run a little museum. He was, I think, 12 during the war. I don't know if she was born during the war or not. He lived. Germans occupied, and when he went to school, they had to learn German and all this. And he and his wife built this little museum in this little Belgian town. It's called the Memory Museum, 1939-45, and it's really amazing. You know, they've been given or they've collected stuff from veterans, from, you know, American veterans all over, and he was quite the carpenter, and he'd make models of German tanks and half-tracks, and he'd have mannequins where he could put the, you know, the uniforms on them. And you know, it wasn't that it was a spectacularly great museum in terms of what it had, but they knew the story of every piece they had in there because it had been given to them by a vet, or they'd found it, you know, on, out in one of the battlefields or something. So, and anyway, they lived right near, you could almost see the Henri Chapelle American Military Cemetery from where they lived.
In the later years, I don't mean the late few years, but the late quite a few years, my work at Reuter Organ Company, a man by the name of Newtell was brought in. He had done organ work in Canada. He was also a Belgian, Holland native.
Okay.
Holland, and he had some association. His home was in the northeast part of Holland, near Germany.
Okay.
And so, you know, they had to be kind of pretty careful about what they were doing.
Sure, yeah.
Well, he mentioned to me about how they had underground stuff in the orchard where they would hide things and meet together and plan things.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I could have gotten him to talk to me a little bit more about it, but he didn't tell me a whole lot.
That's the problem. A lot of them don't, up till recently, didn't want to talk, and then they die and their story's gone, and that's, you know, then that's lost.
His son, that man's son, is now the operator of the Reuter Organ Company, and is doing pretty well. It's not as big a deal as it used to be in the sense of number of employees or where the organs are, how big the organs are building.
Sure.
Although they are still building some fairly large organs.
Yeah.
But they also are, he finds some church that somehow is having a problem with an organ, and he gets it and rebuilds it.
Oh, okay, so they can rebuild, repair, refurbish, that kind of thing. Yeah. Huh.
So the organ company, and by the way, it at this point is one of the last few pipe organ companies still going in the United States.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, well, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me and tell me your story. And as I said, when I get home, it might be a week or two, but my wife will download this for you and send it to you, and then you can do what you want with it. Make as many copies as you want. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I know it was not an exciting period, but to me it was enjoyable to be able to talk to you about.
No, I you know, you always want to get everybody's story. Everybody's is different.